What are my thoughts on high frequency training models? We're gonna dig into that right now. All right, guys and girls, since you know I'm from the John Meadows coaching tree, you all know that I've done and had to give my thoughts on a high frequency training model. So to me, a high frequency training model is anything where it's above 3 times per week. So 3 or above of your hitting a body part. I don't really consider 2 times a week high frequency. I think that's in the middle somewhere. And then obviously 1 time a week would be regular or low, whatever you want to call that. So to me, when I'm speaking specifically about high frequency training models, I'm referring to 3+ times a week of hitting a body part. So 3, 4, 5 times a week. And again, as I said, I've done 3 John Meadows programs, Taskmaster, Onslaught, the Gauntlet, where it was a high frequency training model where you literally crushed a body part. And in addition to that, I've done all the body part manuals. So if you've done any of those with us that I helped co-write, it is training a body part 3 times a week. So what we're gonna think about here is they wanna know my thoughts, what I think about them, how do I like them. And honestly, if you've been watching this channel, you know the way that I love to train. Hard and batshit crazy. No other way to describe it. And if you're training a body part 3+ times a week, you just can't train that way. You have to mind the RPE chart. And if you don't know what RPE means, it's the rate of perceived exertion. So if you're gonna hit a muscle, again, 3 times a week or more, you can't take sets to 10, 11, 12, or 13. And again, to explain that it's going to failure, like muscular failure, or past it with intensity techniques, which you all know that I freaking love. So you gotta take those completely off the table or drastically limit them. Because if you begin to tear into that muscle that deep, you're not recovered enough within that same week to go out that muscle again. So let's say, for example, I'm gonna do back on Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. There's no way that I can crush, say, Monday's workout and I'll be recovered for Wednesdays. And then if I crush it again on Wednesday, I'm gonna be demolished on Saturday when I go to pick up weights for that same body part. And even if I'm choosing joint-friendly exercises, I'm just never gonna beat that pit. And what I mean by pit is, you know, if you guys have followed any of John's stuff, he always talks about how deep you dig a ditch when you train. And each time you hit a body part, you're going down lower and lower and lower. So if you're always constantly digging and never climbing out of it, you can't grow. You're simply just getting back to baseline or a little bit under, which that can lead and will lead to just you losing motivation for the gym, needing a deload, needing an off week, or God forbid, overtraining. So as a whole, I would say I am not a fan of it. Again, I've tried those programs. They're fun in the moment, but in terms of putting lean muscle tissue on and training the way I truly love to, they just aren't for me. What I tend to do is, if you guys, again, have watched and are a fan of this channel, will know is I like to hit most body parts once a week, and I have one body part that I'll pick to specialize on. So if I have all my base days are, say, back day 1, chest, shoulders day 2, legs day 3, and arms day 4, those are my 4 base days. And then if I want to train a 5th day, I'll throw that in there. So it could be a hamstring glute specific workout. It could be another back day. It could be another arm session. I don't really need chest and shoulders, but if I wanted to, I could have that as a 5th day as well. And then that pump session will be much faster pace, being smart with exercise selection, taking nothing to failure. It's all pump style. So that's the way I love to train. That's the way my body has grown. And again, that's, to me, the optimal way to put on lean muscle tissue. Now, I know the new and fancy way of gaining muscle is, hey, we have to train a muscle as frequently as humanly possible. And we do it by leaving reps in reserve or reps in the tank, whatever you want to call that. But to me, I never understood the premise of, if I don't take a set to failure, how many do I truly know I have left? So let's use an example of an RP of 8, which is roughly 2 to 3 reps in the tank. And I'm doing incline dumbbell press. Let's say I have the 130-pound dumbbells, I do 10, and I'm assuming I could have gotten 12 if I went to failure. But what if I felt great that day and had a spot and could confidently hit 14 and it went up? I'm like, oh, let's go again, 15, done. Go again, 16, go again, 17 and a half, and then up with a little bit of spot with a 4th rep. To me, that is almost impossible equation to solve, right? Because I stopped at 10, thought my max was 12, but ended up getting 17 and a half with a spotter. What intended to be a 2 to 3 reps in the tank ended up really, truly could have been 5 to 6 reps in the tank. So do I do that set over again? Or how will I know that? It's all like looking back in hindsight, which for me, the way I train, you just go to failure, and that way you always know where the end is, right? Pretty simple, which is why I like doing that. And then on days where I say, or just a pump session, I just take nothing to failure. When I start to feel the weight slow down, I just cut the set off, either add more weight, rest 60 seconds and go again, or just leave the weight stagnant and just do it 2 or 3 more times. Pretty simple. So the pump days are a fast paced, mega pump, hit a bunch of reps, take nothing to failure, use minimal intensity techniques. And that way, like, when my muscle feels almost done, then I leave the gym. Or the 60-minute time limit hits and I leave the gym. So getting back to the high frequency model, like I said, I've done it 3 times. Twice I did it exactly the way John wrote it. I followed the RPE chart. It just wasn't for me. I felt like I was just going through the motions because let's say I'm doing back, and that's the area that needs all the attention. That means you have to throttle way down on leg training, way back on arm training, and way back on chest and shoulders. And it's just not fun. And then on back, because you're hitting it so frequently, you can't take any sets to the limit. So I'm getting pretty much over the course of the whole week, I'm getting no sets to failure. I'm getting no intensity techniques, no drop sets, no rest pulse, no cluster sets, no Cris pulse, no supersets. And I get none of that, which is what I love and crave. So I end up just feeling like I go through the motions all week. And even if I was, say, putting on optimal muscle tissue, I find it very hard to do that long term. Do it years on end. Because at the end of the day, that's how I've been able to put on this much muscle tissue, is just brutal consistency. Because I love it, look forward to it. So again, going back to what I just talked about the high frequency model, you have to be really diligent with that RPE chart. And if you aren't, and listen, this is from experience, I did the Gauntlet, and my training partner and I said, you know what, screw this chart. I'm gonna take every set to failure of every day. Guess what happened? We literally got beat into the dirt. Like, it was awful. When we finished that program, like, I honestly had no desire to even train anymore. Like, we both took a week off, and then we took a deload week the next week, and honestly, I should have probably taken another 2 weeks off. My body was beat to shit, my joints hurt, and my just desire to train was no longer there. And that's rare. I think it's only happened like maybe 1 or 2 other times in my entire life of lifting. And that's starting back at 13 years old. It was just too much for my system. So, you know, John was intelligent enough to write that program and say, hey, follow this chart or you're gonna get destroyed. And he was right. But me being a young dumb meathead thought, I can beat your system. Just give me more intra-workout nutrition. I'm gonna smash food. And guess what I found too is I couldn't eat enough to match my recovery demands. Like, I was tearing through calories and we couldn't figure out why. Shocker. Taking every set to failure, long, crazy workouts, and it was 6 days a week. So, you know, I've matured my thought process, I've matured my mind, and evolved my training systems. And to me, I think you have to marry all those together. What you love, what you respond to, and what you can do in the long term. So to me, to answer that question specifically, do I like high training frequency models? I do not. I don't think they're as effective as the bro split, or like what I do where it's 4 base sessions and 1 pump session a week. And that pump session is optional, meaning I may only train 4 days and just do the 4 base days and skip the pump if I feel like I need that extra recovery. So again, I will all day long believe in what I just talked about, what I will call the bro split. And, you know, I know a lot of people say, well, Cris, like, what is about this and what about that? And a simple question I'll always pose to you is, if I thought the high frequency model was optimal, I would do it. But I don't, because I'm never going to choose something that I don't think is going to put on the most amount of muscle tissue possible. Because every time I walk into the gym, that's what my goal is, and that's what I stay literally a slave to. And that's what I try to teach you guys. So don't get intrigued by these high frequency training models outside of maybe calves and abs. It doesn't work. Calves you can hit 3 to 5 times a week. Abs you can hit 3 to 5 times a week. So if we're looking at any major muscle group, chest, quads, hamstrings, shoulders, back, arms, it's just not gonna work. It's too much fatigue and it will just run you into the dirt. So again, high frequency training models, not for me. If you like it, by all means attack it, but I'd be willing to bet you your recovery is lacking and you aren't growing as much as you could if you throttled that training down and took your intensity up. If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, Cris TV.